Hello. Hopefully you guys can hear me really good. Hey Susie. How are you doing? Are you guys ready to hear some of my spooky tales? Hey Ocean. Yeah, so today we're gonna be talking about some spooky stuff. It's, you know what, honestly, it's really not that spooky. It's just weird things that I have encountered, weird things that I've experienced. What's up, Christina? Yeah, it's just really weird things that I've experienced. And it's not like it's a lot of things that I've experienced. I've got like 3 or 4 stories to tell, but I'm hoping that you guys could chime in. I am going to post like a description, like not in the description, but like a link that you guys could click. So if you want to join the stream at any time, but I'm going to post it like probably after after I tell my stories, or at least like in between me telling my own stories. Let me go ahead and, this is not a podcast, so let me take off. It's not a podcast. I'm about to show my face. I ain't got no makeup on. We're just kind of hanging out. This is like a regular Friday. We're not doing a whole lot of stuff today. So can you guys see me? I know you guys haven't seen me in a long time, have you? I'm not reading tarot right now. I feel kind of brand new because I got my face on the camera. But anyway, let's look at some of these comments. You have a few stories to tell. I mean, like, we got time. We definitely got time for them. So a lot of the stories that I'm going to tell, some of them are from myself. Yeah, you said, oh, I like spooky stories. Yeah, and the thing is, they're not that spooky, but because they happen to me, I guess, because it's from my personal experience, and those experiences just further validate that there are some things in this world that just cannot be explained. I don't necessarily know from like a scientific point of view, but there are some things that truly cannot be explained through the science that we have right now, as far as the advancements in our technologies and science right now. Sometimes I like to assume that magic is just thank you. Sometimes I like to assume that magic is truly just science that we don't have the tools to measure yet. I think that the spirit world is a part of science that we just don't have the tools to measure yet. Like if you think about a caveman, and if you were to bring them an iPhone 14 back, 2 million years ago to a caveman, they'd be like, this is sorcery, this is magic, the gods are here, they've created. And really, it's just technology. Really, it's just science. So I'm saying that we are, as a society, I feel like there's a lot of things that we just don't understand yet, and we just don't have the tools to measure it. So therefore, we say the word science or magic or phenomenon or paranormal. All right. So like I said, a lot of my stories really aren't truly just spooky, but they're just very strange. There was one story that I'm going to tell you that really scared me because I was really young. So that's probably going to be the spookiest story. Now, I've had a lot of things that happened to me, but I don't even know if they're worthy of telling because they happen like this, and me speaking to the camera doesn't seem as spooky. I don't know if I can make it seem so spooky. And it's not even about the glitz and the glam. It's more so about like how being in that moment made me feel. So yeah. So let's just go ahead and just kind of start. And anytime if anyone wants to chime in or whatever, you absolutely can. Or you know what? If you want to, because I really haven't put a lot of thought into the stream, but let me just go ahead and post the link in the stream, and I'll have to fix my sound because right now I'm using a microphone. So I think that StreamYard, you have to take yourself off of your personal mic so that I can hear you too. So just give me a second to change that or to fix that up. But I do have a couple stories that I want to share. I haven't really thought about, look, normally I'm a structured person. I haven't really thought about how I want to do this, but there's at least like 4 stories that I want to tell. And the first one is like a disembodied laugh. Okay. And the second one is the talking teddy bear. Yes. The talking teddy bear. Now I'm going to say, disclaimer, this story is not my own. This story actually came from my mom a long time ago. She told me this story a long time ago, and I believe her because she doesn't talk like this. Okay. And then the next one was the fire pit UFO. So yes, I feel like I saw something what do they call it? Aerial phenomenon now. I definitely saw an aerial phenomenon. And this one is the newest, most recent ones that they touched me. And I'll get into that story. That was really spooky. Really, it scared me. It startled me more than anything. I'm trying to stall out and wait for more people to come if they want to start hearing my stories, but I think I'm about to just go ahead and start talking about it. And the last one is how I saw my astral body in the mirror. Oh, right. Don't know if you, that's why I said it's really called paranormal. So it's not really necessarily spooky. It's just my experiences with paranormal things. Okay, so and like I said, I want to talk about at least like maybe 2 of my stories, and then I'll go ahead and post the link. And if you guys want to chime in or just have like a group discussion about it, because there's only 3 of us in here. I don't know what y'all want to do. So let me look at the comments and see what y'all want to do. The touch would have freaked me. Hex, yeah, the touch would have. Yeah. So if you're busy or whatever, it's fine. You don't even have to show your face. I forgot how they do that, how you can like stop the camera. Let's see. Yeah, you can stop the camera and like just do it like this if you want to, but that's up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link, and anytime that you want to join in or chime in, you can do that if you want to. But before you do it, just let me know, or I can see if you're trying to join. That way I can at least take this microphone off and prep it to where everybody can hear you and I can hear you as well. So just give me a second to post the link. So just give me a second. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Okay, I guess that works. I don't know, but I think I should see you down below or whatever. If you want to click the link to join in at any time, it don't matter to me. This is kind of like a freestyle thing, but anyway, let's just go ahead and get to talking about this story. Okay, so like I said, the first story that I wanted to share. Now this is the story. This story took place kind of a long time ago. I was actually a kid when it happened. And I say that this is the most scary story to me because when it happened to me, I was so young and very impressionable that it really, really freaked me out. Okay, so the disembodied laugh. I was first of all, I was living in Arkansas when I was a kid. And my mom, she grew up in foster care. So it was really my foster grandmother. I was at my foster grandmother's house, and it was an old house, but I think it was like more like it wasn't a shotgun house, but it was like kind of like in that long trailer style. So there was like a really long hallway that had really, like, it just seemed really closed in. It was a small space though. I think it was like a 2-bedroom house. Kind of looked like a trailer. But anyway, I remember being a little kid, even though I was small, I would always walk down the hallways and I would notice in the hallway, she had these pictures up, right? And the pictures were like this velvety texture pictures. I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 35 years old. And like back when I was like around, I don't know, I say around like 7, for some reason, people would have like velvet or pictures that you can feel. They were very texturized. So I remember always walking down the hallway and I'd see those velvety texturized pictures, and they were very dark and dreary looking. To me, they were. And I was like, ooh, who likes art like that? Thinking to myself as a kid, like, oh, these pictures look really scary. So I remember there was a picture of like a person's face on them, and I could swear that those eyes would like follow me every time I walked down the hallway. And like when I was a kid, I remember running down the hallway every time I had to go down the hallway at nighttime or by myself because the pictures creeped me out. Well, anyway, and I swear it seemed like those pictures, like the eyes would watch me or look at me or like come and grab me. That's just how I felt. But anyway, there was one particular evening where my grandmother, I call her my grandmother, but she was my foster grandmother, I was alone in the house. And I don't know if you guys know, but back in the day, like people used to leave kids at the house when they went somewhere, like if they're going somewhere for a quick second. So she left me in the house. I was getting ready to take a bath. She ran my bath water. I got into the tub And I remember she was like, she came back down the hallway. I heard her footsteps. She came back and she said, hey, Lil Judy. That's what they call me, Lil Judy. That's my name in Arkansas, is Lil Judy, because I'm actually named after another person named Judy. So they's like, hey, Lil Judy, I'm getting ready to go to the store or something. She said she was going somewhere to go pick something up really quick. Maybe she was going to her daughter's house or something. I can't remember. And I was like, okay. I remember seeing my little legs in the tub and being like, okay. And I saw the water around my legs. I was standing up. And the next thing I know, I could hear her grab her purse through the living room. She walks out the front door. I hear the door close regular. And then as I'm washing I remember clear as day, it was my left leg. I was washing my left leg. I had soap all over me. I was washing myself up real good. And I was standing up and I remember I heard this. And I remember being so afraid, and the sound echoed throughout the entire hallway. And I remember standing there too afraid to even look up because the bathroom door was open. So I could see out in the hallway. I was too afraid to even look out that open door. Like, that's how scared I was. Yeah, okay, I'm just losing. I'm looking. Yeah. I remember looking out at my legs because I was too afraid to look up, turn my head, and look out the door. I was looking at my legs and my legs were shaking. I could see the ripples of water that was like vibrating around my shaking legs. What I did at that point was I literally just sat down and rinsed myself off and stayed in the tub. I didn't get out. And she came right back. And the crazy thing is, I never said anything to anyone, but I never wanted to go back into that house. I never wanted to go back in that house. And the thing was, the house was, it was fine, but it was old. It was an old house. And I have no idea to this day why that entity laughed at me. But that's all it did. It just laughed at me. And the way it sounded, it just echoed throughout the entire hallway. Like it came from everywhere. I don't know where it came from. But that was really creepy. And I really hate that entity wanted to scare me because I was a little kid and I didn't do nothing. But yeah, that was probably the most freakiest thing that I think I ever remember, that I ever went through, as a child anyway. So yeah, it was scary to me. As I tell it, it's probably not scary, but imagine knowing that you're alone in a house and you're fine, you're taking a bath, doing things that kids do, and then all of a sudden you hear this crazy, it was a man's laugh at that, and it was a deep voice that he had, and he just laughed hard. He laughed at me hard, and I just froze up. I didn't move. I didn't even have the guts to look out, and the door was wide open. I was naked. I didn't even have the guts to look out the door or anything. So even see what it was. I never investigated it, and I haven't been back to that house. I haven't been back to that house. So, and that house is still in the family to this day. Right now, it's still in the family. So yeah. Okay, and so I guess we can go ahead and go on to the second story that I have. This story is the story of the talking teddy bear. Let me know if you guys want to chime in at any time. Like I said, a lot of my stories really aren't scary because I guess they're more scary or spooky because they happen directly to me. But okay, so the next story I'm going to tell is the talking teddy bear. And this story, like I said, is actually something that my mom told me when I was like, I don't know, I think I might have been like 21 or 22 when she told me this. So, and this was just like regular conversation. We weren't in a really, really deep conversation. It's just something she just shared with me. I don't know, maybe we were watching Unsolved Mysteries or something. I don't know. But I remember she told me when she was like 6 years old, she remembers she was sitting down at an aunt's house and she had a round little tea table. And she was sitting down, she had her stuffed animals around the table, and she told me that she was pretending that all of her teddy bears were drinking tea. She told me that her aunt got up, walked out, and left the room, and she told her, "You stay in here for a minute. I'm just gonna go down to the other side of the house and I'll be right back." I think that her aunt owned a daycare. That's probably what it was. Her aunt owned a daycare, but at the time the daycare was, I guess, closed or like shut down for a little while, but my mom was over there. And the next thing I know, she tells me that the teddy bear, which was, I think it was a dog. I think the teddy bear in this picture, I think I have a picture of an actual bear, but I believe she told me that the teddy bear was actually a dog. And she said that the dog had an open mouth, like you can open and close it a little bit. She told me that the dog started talking to her. Yes, and my mom is not crazy. She told me the dog was talking to her, and it was actually having a conversation, and she said the dog was a man. It was a man's voice, and it was saying, this tea tastes good. She said that's the first thing that the teddy bear said. What's up, boo-boo? She said the dog said the tea tastes good. And then she was like, you can talk? And he said, yeah, I can talk. And she said, how are you talking? You're not real. And she said that the dog said, I can talk, I am real, and I have teeth. And she said, nuh-uh, how do you have teeth? You're not like me. And he said, here. And he said, put your hand in my mouth. And lo and behold, do you know my mom put her hand in his mouth? And she said that the dog actually bit her, and she screamed, and like she said, ow, really loud. And it actually didn't let go for a while. And she said that when it finally let go of her hand, that she had teeth prints on her. When she screamed, her aunt came to the other side of the house where she was, walked in the room and said, what's going on? What happened? And she said, the dog bit me. The dog bit me. It bit me, and it was talking to me and told me it had teeth. And he told me to put my hand in its mouth, and it bit me. And my mom's aunt was like, girl, that dog ain't got no teeth. And she said, yes, it does. And I'm remembering it as she told me. She reached out her hand right there, and there was a bite mark. And she was like, you did that to yourself. But I don't think anyone ever believed her. But I'm going to say that I believed my mom, because she doesn't talk like that. She doesn't say anything that, like, she's only got 2 stories that I know of that have ever happened to her. And I believe it. I really do. I believe it. I'm actually leaving out a story because I'm just now thinking I could talk about another story that happened to her as well. That was really spooky as well. And we were actually living in a haunted house, but I'll save that for another day, I guess. Or unless the conversation about haunted houses comes up, then maybe I'll save it for that. But yeah, so that's the story of the talking teddy bear. And like I said, that one came from my mom, and that was pretty creepy to have like a live stuffed animal talk to her, interact with her, and actually leave a visible mark of teeth on her. I have no idea what that entity was till this day. I really don't want to know. Let me tell you something. I don't mess with stuffed animals. I don't mess with like stuffed animals. Now I have like a baby doll. Where is it at? Okay, you see that little doll like right here? I have that. That's my great grandmother's doll. And it's actually a porcelain piggy bank is what it is. But others, that's like the only thing that I will keep in the house that's like any type of doll or anything like that. I do have another doll that I got from Jamaica. I don't think you can see it, but over here are 2 little voodoo dolls that I have right here in the back. I just use them as like a prop. There's no spirit or anything or entity that's connected to it that I know of. It hasn't presented itself to me if it is. But that's like, I don't mess with baby dolls, stuffed animals. From that day forward, I never mess with it. Once I knew that stuff could happen, I don't mess with it. Okay, so let me go back into the comments because I'm not really looking. Yeah, she should have. And the crazy thing is, I hate that her auntie didn't believe her, because my mom didn't talk like that. You know your child, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was really interesting. All right, so, oh, you're working on a Halloween cake. Ooh, I'd like to see that Halloween cake. That's pretty cool. All right, so at this point, I guess if anybody wants to join in or tell their scary story or spooky story, I still have a couple more stories to share. I actually have 3 more stories to share, which I've only shared 2 so far. So let's just go ahead and share the story about the fire pit UFO. And this was not scary at all. But okay, so this was actually last year. This happened last year. And it was me, my dad, and my husband. We were out in the backyard. What happened was the power went out at our house. In my house, the power goes out very easily, and it was in the middle of the winter. We weren't having an ice storm, but I think that it was just cold enough to where something might have happened and the power went out, the lights went out. It was cold in the house and cold outside, so we couldn't cook anything. So we was like, you know what, let's just fire up the fire pit, let's just fire the mug up and, like, you know, cook some hot dogs on it or something and have a couple beers, you know, smoke some, whatever. This was last year. So if anybody's watching this and you're like, oh my God, you smoke. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so the next thing that I remember, we're conversating, and me and my dad, we tend to get into like really deep, weird discussions about time travel and jumping dimensions and like alternate dimensions and reality and stuff. When we were, I don't know, we were, drinking and having a good time, and it was just really pretty much a vibe. And my husband was just sitting on the right side of me, and he was just kind of like soaking it all in, like, yeah, like just agreeing with us, drinking his beer or whatever. And the next thing I know, it got silent for a while because I guess we were just kind of feeling the moment. We all kind of looked up because there was a light in the sky, and it was a solid light. It was coming straight towards our direction, not towards us down on the ground, but just in our direction, headed towards us, and we could look up and see it. Now, even though the fire was literally right in front of us, it wasn't very a loud fire. It wasn't like a bonfire. It was just a fire pit. So we're all looking up, and I guess we're kind of daydreaming. We're not really thinking about where we're looking at. There was no sound. It wasn't a helicopter, and we maybe assumed it was an airplane, but it seemed like it was pretty low to the ground. The next thing we know, the air phenomenon, or the UFO is going straight towards us, directly towards us, and then it turns immediately right angle to the left of us. I know on the screen it looks like I went right, but it went to the left, and like within seconds it shot off. It was fast. It was really, really fast. So honestly, that story is actually over with, because but immediately once it happened, I just kind of grabbed, because I was sitting in a lawn chair, I just kind of grabbed the arms of my lawn chair, and I just kind of looked, and I was like, and then my dad was like, oh. And then I was like, you saw it too? Because remind you that I'm like under the influence a little bit. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm really seeing some shit now. Like, I'm really thinking like, oh, I'm going crazy. I'm seeing stuff. But when my dad made that sound right to my right, and then Kelvin made a sound to the left of me, and I'm like, oh, they saw it too. Okay, I'm not crazy. And I was like, did we just see what we thought we saw? And everybody saw the same thing, that like it was very quiet. It was low to the ground. It was coming directly for us, and immediately took a right angle turn, shot off fast as all get out, and was gone just like that. I mean, it was going slow, and then it was gone. So, and I really think that because we were talking about, a lot of like weird stuff, that maybe I was under the impression that like extraterrestrials really kind of communicate telepathically, and that they're a little bit more advanced where they don't necessarily have to use spoken words. So I guess I was just assuming that they were able to kind of like pick up on what we were talking about, and they just wanted to make themselves known and give us an experience. So that's something very paranormal. I've never actually seen a extraterrestrial. I've never been abducted by anything. I've never actually had an encounter with an ET or a gray or anything like that. And a part of me is I'm kind of weird, because a part of me is like, dang, how come they don't want to abduct me? Like, I'm kind of mad that they don't want to abduct me a little bit, but maybe I need to stop being like that. Okay. So that is all for that story. It's like I said, it's not really like super scary. It's just like we all witnessed it at the same time, and it kind of shocked me. So the next story I have to tell is They Touched Me. Yes. And believe it or not, this story actually took place last week. So this is the most recent story that I have to tell. Let's check on the comments really quick. Yeah, I know. Like, I have too. And I love that kind of discussion. I love those kind of talks about UFOs, aliens, extraterrestrials, and things like that. Like, I really do believe that there's a whole lot more to this world that we don't understand, and that we just haven't, we haven't gone out far enough to even know or be aware of the things that we're not even aware that we don't even know. Did that make sense? Like, there's so much out there. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. There's so much out there. But anyway, this next story. Oh, did anybody want to join in or chime in or anything? Let me know. And help. Let me know if the chat is actually open. You don't actually have to You don't actually have to. You'll like a couple. I'll like a couple of your stories. Are they along the same? Are they along the same path? Because if not, like if they are, we can go ahead and get you in here in the stream if you want to. Or if you just want to type it in the chat, that's fine too, but it's up to you. But you don't have to show your face. I'm just showing my face. If you want to, you can stop the camera and just have your voice showing, or just have your voice speaking. It's up to you. You don't have to show your face at all. But yeah, let me know when you come in, because I think I should see it if you decide to try to join. All right, so let me know if you want to come in before I tell this next story, because the next story is when I got touched. Yeah, I've never been touched by a spirit or by a ghost or an entity or anything. But like I said, it was definitely in this room. Creeped me out. So let me know if you want to go live right now. Or I think you might have to download StreamYard too. I'm not really sure if you have to download StreamYard. But while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and tell the story about my experience in this room, right over here at this door as I was getting ready to leave. All right, most of you know that I practice stuff, right? And behind me, that's actually an altar. So, and that's a part of that is actually an ancestor altar as well. So I was sitting at the altar and I was talking to ancestors and my mom, and and I could feel when people are there. I could definitely pick up on that. And I think a lot of people who, once you start talking to your ancestors and your spirit team, you just start noticing when they're in the room, let alone the fact that there's like always a presence in this room. Honestly, there really is. I've just gotten used to it. Oh, Christina's here. You want to go ahead and share your story? Okay. All right, let's get into this. Okay, so let me fix my microphone really quickly, because I think I have to put it on default. So give me a second and let me know when you guys can hear. Let's see if you can hear me now. Can you guys hear me? Let me know when you guys can actually hear what I'm saying, because I know it may take a second. What about now? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Just let me know when everybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Here, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, so you can hear me. Good. All right, so good. Mo, you're here. Oh my gosh, did you hear my other stories? Like, they were kind of crazy. So, like I said, you might have to rewind to like hear the other stories, but this was the one where they touched me on. And like I said, you guys can chime in at any time if you just want to. I've changed my microphone over. And Christina, let me know if you still want to join. He said, I'll do my story at the same time. Okay. All right, so whenever you want to join in, Christina, I'm going to go ahead and start telling my story that happened in this room. And this happened, like I said, it happened last week. I was in this room and I was right over there. So like I said, I was in this room. Most of you already know that I practice, and my altar is behind me. That's my ancestor altar. You can't really see it because I'm usually blocking it because it's kind of personal to me. You said I have a few. I'll let you finish your stories. Okay, so I'll finish all of my stories then. This is fine. Okay, so I I did, my little saying, whatever I say when I open up contact and communication. I was conversating. I mean, I was acting like they was really in the room, which they were in the room anyway. I can feel it all the time. And, I was like, man, I was telling them about everything that I want to do and how much creativity that I have bundled up in me, but it just feels like a big wire that I can't unravel. And I was just kind of just telling them everything that I was wanting to do and wanting to accomplish. And I was like, but feeling like, I know that there is a way that I can unravel all of that creativity. I'm just waiting on the right opportunity. And I was feeling really into it, and it was actually motivating me just to talk about it like this. I don't know if it was coming from them or just the fact that me getting it off my chest made me feel a lot better. And so as I'm walking out, I say, all right, I love you, and I say goodbye. I'm walking out, I'm headed towards that direction. I put my left hand on the doorknob, and the next thing I know, I feel a touch right here, and it kind of felt like, the weird thing was, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared at first. I wanted to bolt my ass out of this room at first, but it all happened so fast to where I was like startled. I felt that feeling when my heart sort of skips a beat for a second. And I just said, you know what, Judy, calm down. You do this stuff. This is what you do. I mean, like, this is gonna happen. Like, chill out. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna take this as they heard what I was saying, and this is kind of like a comforting feeling. Like, even though they touched me, it was okay. And it let me know that they were here and they listened to what I said. It basically just validated the fact that I'm not talking to myself. To me, that's how I took it. So once I felt that, I was like, okay. And I said, that was interesting. And I said, thank you for listening. And I went ahead and left. But I'll tell you the way it felt. The thing about it, the way the touch felt, if you think about when another human being touches you, you can feel like the texture of their hands. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's clammy or something like that. It didn't feel like a hand touched me, even though I feel like it was a hand, but it was like more of like a spiritual body hand touched me. So it had like an energetic force behind it. It felt more like a pressure, like a disembodied pressure, but I knew it was a hand touching me. So it touched me right there on my arm. And the crazy thing is, my husband was sitting right over here. This is my vanity mirror off to the side, to the left of me. You can't see it, but it's where I put makeup on and stuff like that. And Kelvin was sitting right there. And it was actually when I was filming the footage for Julio Ramirez for his video, for his cold case review. And I was trying to film that portion of the video where I was explaining his story. And as I was filming it, I kept messing up my words because I kept getting the dates wrong, and I started getting frustrated. And on the camera, I never see it in like real life, like actually looking around me, but on the camera, because I can see on the monitor, I saw a little white orb. It came and touched me right there in the same spot, but I didn't feel the touch. I saw it land right there on my shoulder and just dissipated, and it looked like a feather or something. But it wasn't a feather, because as I'm looking down in my arm in real time, and then I look on the monitor, it's there on the monitor, but it wasn't on my arm. So I was like, okay, so that's an orb. I get a lot of orbs in this room. Like, most of the time I get orbs in this room when the camera's not recording. I think they're camera shy. I did get one orb on camera when I was doing a crystal ball reading. I think a lot of people may have seen that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, they're here all the time. Like, all the time they're here floating around the room. And another thing that usually happens, the way I know that they're here, is in this little corner, I have a guitar that belonged to my mom, and it's right here by, this is the altar where I actually practice magic right here. And on that side is where I have in that little corner, there's a little space about, I don't know, yay big, and it's kind of blocked off. That's where I keep my mom's guitar. My mom's deceased now. She's already passed on, across on the other side. And every now and then I'll hear a pluck. Kelvin was in here one day. Kelvin is my husband. He was here one day, and he heard that pluck, and he was like, what is that? It sounds like somebody's plucking your guitar. I was like, oh, that's, I don't know, somebody's in here. They having a good time with it. I hear it all the time. Matter of fact, I heard it right before I went live again. Like, sometimes it'll happen while I'm in the middle of a stream reading tarot, doing live videos, but I never even talk about it. You know, I just don't say anything because I don't know if the camera picks it up. You love seeing orbs. I like seeing the orbs. It's comforting to me now. Like, I'm used to it. At first, I was like, really? But now it's comforting. But anyway, that is the time where I got touched. They touched me. So it's further validation that I'm not crazy. And they actually are listening and they hear me. So I don't know why, but, you know, for a long time I always felt like, I don't know, maybe I felt like no one was really there, or like once you leave you really are gone. Or there was always this part of me that felt like, man, what if this is all just wishful thinking, and that I'm just hoping that there's something after death, and that, you know, in real life maybe there isn't nothing else, and like we really do go on to a mystical place and never ever return back to this realm again. We can't even interact with it at all. But I realized that that's not true. There really is existence afterwards. So that validated it for me. Of course, every now and then I feel like I need that confirmation every, I don't know, 10 years or so. but it definitely validated it for me. So anyway, so that's not really a scary story, but for me, being here when I was by myself, it was kind of scary, but it wasn't. It was just, I was just startled at first. But talking about it is not very scary, but having it happen to you is actually a different story. So, okay, so moving on to the next story. This is the last story I have to tell. Is the time that I saw my astral body while in the middle of an out-of-body experience in the mirror. Okay, so, and this is the last story that I'm going to tell. It doesn't mean that this is the only stories that I have. It's just that these are the only stories I can think of that would be quick enough to tell in like an hour span or whatever. So, for those of you who don't know, I've astral projected multiple times. I think starting from age maybe about 14 is when the first time I think I astral projected. Or I had an OBE, out of body experience. I think an OBE and an astral projection is different though. OBE feels like almost like a when you die and come out of your body. I'm not really sure, but astral projection. I had gotten good enough to get out of my body to where I could do it on purpose. So there was one particular time, I think at this time I was probably about 17 years old. I've been doing it since I was 14, and I kind of sort of perfected it. I was getting out one night. I heard the sounds and I felt the vibration in the middle of my chest, and I could feel that little feeling at the top of my head and right there. And it feels like a pressure. I have to make another video on that stuff separately to like really go through the motions of how it felt. But I knew it was coming along, and I was like, oh, okay. And one night I said, as I was hearing the sounds and going through the feelings, I was like, I think when I get out, I'm going to look at myself. Because in my bedroom, I had a vanity. Really, it was just a dresser with a vanity on top that came together as a set. And I was like, I'm really curious about what do I look like when I'm not in my body. So I remember coming out. I remember feeling that falling feeling, or that pull, that I call it the pull. I remember having that pull, and I was like, yes, I'm out. So I'm floating around for a little bit, and it's still at this point kind of hard for me to control where I go, because most of the time I end up floating in the corner of my room by accident. So I'm like, I will myself down to look, into the mirror from the ceiling, go from the ceiling, float down to the mirror, and I look in the mirror, and I'll tell you what I looked like. This is what I saw. It looked like a heat wave. So I'm looking in the mirror, and I didn't know what to expect. I guess I was expecting that I would look like a ghost or an outline of my physical body. There was no outline at all. It didn't look like a ghost in the movies. It honestly looked like a staticky heat wave. I really don't know how to truly describe it, but when you're on if you've ever looked down a really long road, paved road, and it's a hot day and the sun is like beaming down on the ground, and you're looking at a really great distance, and you focus on what's in the distance, and you see like this heat pattern that comes off the ground. It sort of looks like a wavy effect, or like a staticky wavy effect in the air. That's what I looked like I honestly feel like that was just kind of energy. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure if that was like energy, or was that my energy body, or my, I know it was my astral body. But yeah, that's pretty much what I looked like. I saw my astral body in the mirror. But the crazy thing is that in the mirror, I wasn't the only one that I saw, and nor was my body that was still laying in the bed. But I wasn't the only one I saw. The other thing that I saw was another astral body that was in the corner. And it wasn't scary to me because I felt like that body that was in the reflection of the mirror that I saw had been there multiple times, and was like waiting on me to, like they were waiting on the right time to introduce themselves to me. So that's what made it kind of spooky, because once I got back in my body, I was like, I was still asleep, had my eyes closed, and I didn't even bother to look up and see was there somebody standing in the corner of the room. I just kind of was like, well, they didn't seem like scary or anything. And this is, let me tell you, all this happened. I'm 35 right now. 34. I'll be 35 in November, next month, matter of fact. But this all happened when I was 17 years old. So I don't think that YouTube was talking about this type of stuff. So there was no way that I could have got all of these, I don't know what you call it, definitions or stories or like happenings. I don't think that I was influenced by any way. I think this was just a genuine experience that happened to me, and I don't know, it's just crazy. Like you could actually see yourself in the reflection in your astral body. So that was kind of weird. But and I actually saw someone else that was in the room with me, like as if they were waiting to introduce themselves to me. And I actually have more stories, lots of astral projection stories of what I've seen, other entities that I've, I guess, met. I met one entity where I literally shook their hand and I felt suctioned to them for some reason. Like when I went to go shake their hand and introduce myself, I felt like a magnetic pull towards them. It was really weird. But I'm not going to hit on that because I just figured if y'all wanted to know what you look like, if you know how to astral project and you want to see what you look like, I want to hear what you guys look like to you, because to me, I just look like a heat wave. I thought that was kind of crazy. I wonder if any of you would be too afraid to look at yourself. For a long time, I've always been curious as to what I looked like, my astral looked like, but it really wasn't that scary. It was different, that's all. You said I didn't see my actual self, but I saw my actual body sleep on the bed. Yeah, like when I used to do it, it was very unintentional. Like it just happened on accident, but then I learned how to do it on purpose, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's the time that I saw my astral body in the mirror. That's what I look like. Okay, and I think, am I done with my stories? Is this the last one? I can't remember if it's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. So at this point, I guess I'll wait for you guys to go ahead and look at your stories. Let me go and post in the bottom of the paste. This is the link to join if you want to tell your story yourself, or if you have something spooky or something weird and paranormal that happened to you. You can go ahead and talk about it. And I've got the sound working, so now I can pretty much hear. I'm gonna close out the YouTube link really quick, and you guys can just take turns joining if you want to, if you have something spooky that happened to you. And like I said, you don't actually have to show your body. If you want to, you can just put it on like a screen like this. You can just start and stop the camera. You don't have to show your face. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's see. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Renee, I've had so many crazy things happen to me while I was in the astral realm. Like, I've floated down below the surface of the ground. I've floated in the top corners of the house. I've hovered over the house. I've been to different houses and didn't even know where I was. I just woke up in the astral realm and didn't know whose house I was in. And there was also one time I literally woke up. I think I was, because I think this was at the beginning of me trying to learn how to astral project. I woke up in the middle of a dream, and that was the first time, and actually the only time, I think they call it lucid dreaming, I became aware in the middle of a dream that I was dreaming. I wasn't able to control anything, but the fact that I realized that I was actually dreaming, I think that I only lasted like maybe a couple minutes, and then after that I came to and woke back up. Oh, okay, so this is Christina. Let's see if we can add her to the stream. So let me make sure I can hear your voice. Just give me 1 second so I can hear you. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I can hear you. Let me know if there's an echo or anything.
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Go ahead
So,
and tell your story. Tell us your spooky story.
well, I have more than one.
Yeah, I
I'll
want to hear.
just tell the important ones, like the big ones.
Yeah, yeah, I want to hear.
Um, One of them kind of goes back to, I think might have been an extraterrestrial experience. I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really wasn't very old. I was probably like 7 or 8. But I remember kind of waking up in the middle of the night, and it was almost like I was being levitated back down to my bed.
Ooh. By someone else?
There was nobody else.
Wow. So you were basically, so you woke up in the middle of going back into your body, or your physical body was levitating over your bed
My
and you.
physical body.
Ooh, my goodness. That's creepy. Okay, so they're saying it's an echo, so I'll probably mute myself some kind
Okay,
of way. I don't
hang
hear the
on.
echo. I don't hear the echo.
Let me try something.
Mm.
It's probably because I have the thing on live here.
Oh, that's right. That's okay. Well, yeah, that is kind of creepy because were you doing anything? Is there anything that may have led up to the events that uh, of you like noticing your body coming back down?
No, but I can state that I have a lot of my childhood that's completely blacked out too.
For real?
Yeah. But part of that I know why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember the events, and it's nothing extraterrestrial or it's just a sad event that shouldn't happen to anybody.
Uh huh.
But that doesn't explain why I remember that, and then I have huge chunks still blacked out.
Wow. So you have like, do you think you have like missing periods of time? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not really sure.
That's crazy. I've never had an
Uh,
experience where I've had missing time. I've never experienced that. But you know what? Every time I think of like missing periods of time, I always assume that something happened or something erased my memory. Like if I were to ever think of it like that, I would probably jump to conclusion being like, okay, maybe this is an extraterrestrial thing. Like, what's going on? That's crazy.
and so let's fast forward. I was living in my grandmother's house. This is
They
after
can see
she
you.
passed. Sorry.
No, Kelvin waved at the camera. It's okay.
Oh,
Go
hi, Calvin.
ahead. Hello. He said hi.
I'm chilling in the basement, and I can hear my mom, my aunt, my cousin playing cards upstairs, like literally right above me. And I hear steps, somebody going down the stairs. There's a little landing where it splits off to where you can go to the one side of the basement or the other. And it's out of the corner of my eye, but I can clearly see somebody standing there looking at me. And I yell, "Ha ha, very funny, mom," because it kind of looked like my mom. And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm up here." She's yelling it from upstairs because, like I said, I can literally hear them. And then I see whoever it was, turn around and go back upstairs. I mean, I can see the legs and everything going up the stairs.
So, okay, yeah, I know it's gonna echo because I muted my microphone so it's not such a bad echo. But so when you saw the person, did you see like an outline? Did you see clothing? What made you
They
feel
were
the
wearing,
person?
yeah, they were wearing a kind of like a blue. It's not really a. It's was kind of like a plaid. It was kind of like light turquoise-ish blue um shirt. They had brown hair. It honestly looked like a younger version of my mom, to be honest.
Do you think it was somebody from your family? Who
I
who?
honestly don't know because it looked nothing like my grandmother. Um, Maybe it was my mom's grandmother. I really don't know who it was. And they never really bothered me again after that either.
So they just made an appearance at one time. And do you think there's any other phenomenon that may have happened in the house that may have been related to that? I mean, you said that they never like presented themselves to you again, but was there any other things that happened in the house that, because that's how I notice things happen. Like there'll be small things that, oh, like for instance, this is a touch light, right? Oh, it's supposed to go off. Yeah, this right here is a touch light. And right before I started the stream, I had my hands right here and the light was off. I literally got to the computer, sat down, I did not touch it, and I'm like, my hands are right here, I'm working on the computer like this, and the next thing you know, it turns on immediately. So I'm like, okay, Spirit's ready to get started with the stream. Is that what you're trying to say? it just came on completely on its own. I had nothing to do with it, and I was like, okay. But I know that a lot of events like that usually lead up. They're building up to something. So that's why I was wondering, was there anything that happened prior to that, or like little small things before they actually present themselves to you? Because that's what happens to me.
No, not
It's
really.
crazy.
It just
Just a one-time
happened.
thing. And you know something else? I've been told that a lot of like there's a difference between like a repeating energy in the room and like a conscious entity in the room when it comes to ghosts or spirits. I guess a ghost would be like a repeating energy in the room. It's not even aware that you're there. It's more like it's just kind of replaying a set of events. So my question is, do you feel like this was an intelligence energy, like a spirit that actually wanted to get your attention and knew that you were there?
It could have been. All I can say
Or
is
do
it
you feel
scared
like
the
it was
crap
like
out of
something
me.
that's just like an echo?
Me.
Yeah, I bet it did. I bet it did scare you. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. I think that if I ever saw anything, like saw an outline of anything, I don't know. I'm not ready for that. Matter of fact, I was talking on the phone to one of my friends, and I said I told them that I had the touch on my arm, and he was like, oh wow, what if he would have presented himself to you? I was like, I'm not ready for that. And I said it out loud. I said, I'm not ready for that. So letting them know, like, I'm not ready to actually see a spirit in real time. Come to me in my dreams, come to me during meditation. Please don't come to me and spook me. Don't spook me out while I'm like in my waking world, in my like normal functioning world. I don't think that would be cool. I'm not ready for it. So
After that, I had a couple other experiences in that house before I moved out. They were just little experiences. I didn't see anything, but whatever it was not good. It was evil. I mean, it was to the point where I went to bed with my Bible that night because it scared me so much. It was an evil laugh, a very evil laugh.
oh, so you had a disembodied laugh too. And I swear, you could
Yeah.
feel when I told my story earlier about my laugh, I definitely felt the wickedness that came from that laugh. It didn't feel good. And like I said, I was a little girl. So why would it laugh like that and scare the shit out of me like that when I was just a little girl? So that's how I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't good. So go ahead and tell your story. I'm curious about this.
Oh, that one, I was honestly, both times that it happened, because it was on two different occasions, I was just getting ready to go to bed. And then all of a sudden, one time it said something. I don't remember what exactly it said. It was just a like one syllable word. I don't even remember what it was. But the second time, it was a very evil laugh. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And at that time, I was making a decision on whether to stay at that house or move to the house that I live in now. Um, and I ended up moving. I think it tried to follow me, but it didn't. Because when I moved in, there was a knock at my door, and my brother-in-law was with me, helping me paint, and he heard it too. And there was nobody at the door when I went to check it.
Yeah,
And
that's creepy. That remind it puts just hearing you talk about it. It puts me in the mind of when I was that little girl in the tub, completely naked, skinny, and I was in the tub and I heard that voice and I was all alone and I knew that there was nobody in the house. There were no men in the house especially, but the way that that voice echoed throughout the entire house, it didn't come from one particular place. So I don't know how they do it or even why they do it, but it like it played off of my fear. So I was wondering, my next question to you was, did you have any fears surrounding you at that time about anything that was going on in your life? Like for me, I was afraid of the hallway. When I was a kid, when I heard that echo, that disembodied voice in the hallway, I was afraid of that hallway, and it just played off of that fear for some reason.
not really. Not really. And I've had other experiences that I'm not even going to tell tonight, too, but
Really?
yeah.
I can only imagine. But see, the only experiences that I probably wouldn't share are probably more, I ain't gonna say it either, because they would be more sexual in nature, and so I wouldn't share them either. I've had some crazy things happen. I really have had some crazy things happen, so I don't blame you for not wanting to share it, because sometimes just talking about it makes it
Mhm.
like.
It's, yeah, I get it. Oh, I do have to jump back. I saw Renee's comment about angels. I actually have had an experience with that as well. I was on my way home. Actually, not on my way home. I was following my mom and brother. We were heading to Wichita, and on this highway we were on, it's literally like a two-lane highway, and we had passing lanes. Um, there was this truck that had, it was not stable. They had crushed cars stacked on top of each other, and it wasn't stable. It wasn't a truck that should be hauling a load like that. So traffic is completely backed up. I'm waiting to turn left and turn. um we were at the passing lane, and need to turn left, so I'm in the passing lane. As soon as I got drove hit right outside of this little town that we were at, just before the turn lane, or not turn lane, I'm sorry, passing lane, and I just felt like this tingly feeling all over me, like, and I knew at that moment something was going to happen. And lo and behold, when I look back in my rearview mirror, waiting to turn, here comes a semi, not slowing down.
So
And
so what you're saying is like your like I call them spidey senses. It's like your spidey senses kicked in. Maybe your psychic senses. I don't know. Maybe your something like gave you a warning that you need to be cautious and be aware. So that was definitely probably like an angel. I don't know. What do you?
I think it was an angel, because it was almost like it wrapped its wings around me to protect me, because I walked away without even whiplash. He didn't hit me. He did swerve to miss me, but the what he was carrying ended up hitting my car, and
So he like
it
sideswiped you.
totaled my car. My seat was broken. I should have had some kind of whiplash. I had nothing.
Wow. Now that's amazing. Like that is a true to me that's a true angel story right there. That's amazing. Because I've seen stories like that. When I was a little kid, I used to watch the show called Touched by an Angel. And
Yes.
like that's what that reminds me of though. But I think that a lot of those stories that came from Touched by an Angel, they really were true events by someone who's experienced something like that. I don't think nobody just scripted everything. So I really believe that your guardian angels or whoever it was definitely watching over you. That's pretty amazing. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yeah. Not even a scratch, whiplash, nothing. I probably should have had some sort of neck injury at the very least, just from the force.
Yeah, you definitely probably should have, especially because it was coming so fast. And you said you totaled the car, so that
Yeah.
truck really messed you up. It should have messed you up.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And as soon as I felt that feeling, I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what or when, but I knew something was going to happen.
it's like your spirit angel was saying, like, get ready. Let me help you. Get ready. Let's put this. Okay.
And let's see. Um, I don't want to take up all the time. I have a lot of stories.
You could tell. You could tell us whatever you need to tell us. Like, I'm
um,
interested.
I have had another experience seeing a spirit. It wasn't on my property, it was next door. But every time I'd walk by my window, I would see somebody standing there like they're watching me. And I can give you a full on description of them. That's how clear it was to me. Um, they were wearing a red shirt, jeans, they were really tall, white, very thin, black or brown hair. I think it was more like a dark brown hair. Really crazy. Like they were watching me, and it was crazy. I don't know what they wanted, and it happened a few times until it finally stopped.
You know, the that's that's something that creeps me out is the thought of, like, when I'm, like I told you, when I'm here in this room, it's okay that they're here with me, but I feel like they kind of know that I have some boundaries that I would like to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do. Like, I don't have to necessarily feel like I have to say it, but I do have some boundaries that I feel like are mutually respected, that that don't necessarily have to speak. But one thing that I don't like is feeling like I'm being watched from around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that type of I don't like that sneaky feeling where, like, something's hiding and peeking ahead around a corner. I don't like that type of feeling. So you saying that someone was watching you through a window is really creepy. It's really creepy.
And the
And
vibes I get from that property are not very good either.
that's what I was about to say. Usually, when you have to me, when you have an entity that's not respecting your boundaries, or, like, it's not even about, I don't know if the boundaries is the right word, but if they know when they're making you feel uncomfortable, and when they're doing that on purpose, I feel like that's not a good energy. That's not a good spirit. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But it stopped eventually, and like they never trespassed or it was always right there on the edge of the other property. So they never came over to my property. It's almost like my property is protected, if that makes sense.
You said your property is what?
It's almost like my property is protected. Like it
Okay.
never came over to my property.
I believe that a part of the protection that you have, it may be because of your own spirit team, like your own guardian angels and things like that. Like, like, even if it wants to, like, intrude on your personal boundaries, like, your spirit team is like, nah, you stay right there and you better not move. I
Yeah,
really believe it. I really do. So
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. um, one more. I'll tell one more story. This was actually earlier this year. Uh, sorry, it's kind of hard. Um, so my aunt's was sick, and she ended up passing away in February. She was in she was in hospice care, literally the morning of the day she passed away. She came to me in my dreams, and she said that, just in a little girl voice, I could see like a little girl reaching up, and she said, "I see the light." And I knew at that moment that she's going soon. And I was really close with her. I probably was the one that spent the most time with her. I did all of her shopping and laundry and just made sure she had everything she needed. And so it was really hard losing her.
Don't get me too emotional, Christina, because you know I got my own stories and seeing my mom in my dreams. I do. And I'm not going to go into it because now I can tell them without getting emotional, but they still mean a whole lot to me. So I take it whenever our family members, our loved ones come back and they give us that one of those last messages from beyond the veil or on the other side of the spirit world or whatever. I just take it as it's it's for your comfort. It's for the comfort of the living. So, and it also, like I said, it's just more validation that everything is okay and there's not an ending. So, and that makes me feel really good. I'm glad to know that your auntie is actually doing well. I know that it's probably hard realizing that you feel like she was going to pass at that time because that's probably hard for you to come to terms with. But I'm very, very sure that at the same time, seeing that light is more of like saying, like, there's a safety there. Like, it's okay. You don't have to worry for her. And I know that sounds super cliche as hell, but that's truly what I feel like. Anything that feels like it's comforting, even if it's light or whatever, I think it's a beautiful thing. So, I really appreciate you opening up and sharing that story because that I didn't expect you to get, you know, you know, I didn't expect you to share a story like that because it's a very personal thing. I don't think I've ever really shared a story like that with my mom about things that have happened. This was after she passed. She wasn't sick or anything. She had a heart attack and a sudden heart attack and just was just gone that day. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you telling that story, sharing your story like that. It means a lot because that's really hard to put yourself back in that emotion.
Well, the way I look at it, she was sick for a while, and I'm just glad she's not suffering anymore. If she were still alive today, she probably really wouldn't be doing very well. And she would be suffering for a longer duration of time, and I wouldn't want that for her.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the stream, Christina. Thank you for telling us your stories, especially that last one. It kind of touched my heart a little bit. That's why I'm like, okay, get yourself together. Look, y'all, I'm a Scorpio. I'm still sensitive. Like, I'm still super sensitive. Oh, I think I muted you. I'm sorry.
No, I was on mute. I
Oh,
just
okay,
muted
okay. I'm
you.
sorry. But I'll meet you back then if that's what you want. But yeah, I still get really sensitive about things like that. But I'm really glad that you opened up about that. And your stories are pretty interesting. Levitating in the bed, or feeling like you were levitating, and like having strange visitations, and knowing that you still have guardian angels that are there protecting you. I think all that stuff that's all supposed to be a part of our human experience. To me, I do. Let me unmute you just in case you have something to say too. But I think that all of those experiences in our waking life are supposed to be there
Oh,
for us to help guide us too. So yeah, I appreciate you for sharing, Christina.
oh, right quick, I do have two more stories to share.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Sorry. These were.
Okay. Okay, so Christina was going to share two stories, but I think that she clicked herself off the stream. I think she clicked herself off the stream. So let me see if I need to add that link back to the stream really quick. Let's see. Hold on. I'm just give me a second, you guys. Let's see. I might have to add it back to the stream. There we go. Okay. So I just added that link back to the stream. Hopefully you guys can see the link. Yeah, just to get because Christina just accidentally took herself off of the link off the stream. So if you still had another story to share, go ahead and share. And if Renee, you said you had a story that you wanted to share, or if you would like to share, I'm fine with it. You can just hang out. Hey, it's 11. It's 1:11 on the clock. Well, it's 1:11. We've been alive for an hour. it's up to you if you want to come back. But all my short stories are told. So if you guys wanted to see some of my stories, some of the stories I had, let's see. The first story I told was the disembodied laugh, and then the talking teddy bear, and then the fire pit UFO, and then the one time that I got touched, and then the time that I saw my astral body in the mirror. So I don't know. You have to, rewind that. But anybody wants to come into the chat and share your story about what happened, your paranormal happening, your paranormal story, just let me know. Okay, here comes Christina again. Okay, go ahead. We're listening.
Okay. Well, I told you that I don't know if you heard. My aunt's cousins and I saw a UFO while we were on our way down to Mexico near the Mexico-Texas border.
Are
It
you
was a
talking about like? Okay, I thought you were about to say like in Roswell or something. I've never been to
no, it
Roswell,
was
but
in
I want to go.
Texas.
It was in Texas. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's so. What were the events leading up to? Like, what exactly did you see? How did you know that you? What at one point did you realize that you were looking at a UFO?
Just because of the shape and the way that it was moving, it was just really weird. It was a sphere type shape, but it was almost like I can't really describe it. Um, it wasn't like going round and round and round. It was almost like it was oscillating, if that makes sense.
Like, was it maybe like moving in directions that modern aircraft technology can't move? Because that's what I've noticed a lot of people say. Even from my experience, when I saw the UFO or whatever it was, the aerial phenomenon in the sky, when all three of us, me, my father, and my dad, I mean, and my husband, we were outside. It was going straight towards us, and then it immediately took a right angle. So, was it like going in like a rocking motion, or was it just like zigzagging?
It was
It
kind of
was
like a
kind of like a
rocking
rocking
motion.
motion.
It was
And
almost
It's
like it
almost like
was
it was
staking
staking
out or
out
just
or
like
hovering
hovering.
hovering
in
Yeah,
that
like
in that
general
hovering.
area.
area.
And the thing about me is that I don't know why they came to visit during the nighttime hours. Because, like I said, we were at a bonfire. It was not a bonfire. It was a fire pit, and it was nighttime. So I couldn't see anything other than just that one light. That's the only thing that I saw. But it was enough for me to know like that wasn't an airplane. It wasn't a helicopter either because it was completely quiet. And for all three of us to react the way we reacted, we all was thinking the same thing at the exact same time. We all knew what it was. Hey,
Hi,
Hi,
AA.
AA.
AA. All right. So
Um, my
My
mom's
mom.
has her own experiences with UFO and even with spirits. I won't get into those. I really don't know the details on those. But my next story was right after my grandmother passed away. This is actually after I got back from Mexico because we had to hurry back. My family was trying to reach me because my grandmother had passed away. And right after my grandmother's funeral, I had one of those dreams where it actually involved aliens. Um, it was one of those situations where you wake up in your dream, but you're not really awake. And I'm laying there on the table while they're doing whatever to me. And,
wait.
and
You said while you were laying on a table, as
yeah,
if
Yeah.
like what type of table was this?
I
I
was not
was
in my
not in
bed
my bed
anymore. That's
anymore.
all I'm going to say.
Oh, you got some good ass stories. Okay, this beats my shit out like by 100. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
Um, yeah, that night I went to sleep. And this is when I lived in Peabody. I didn't live in Wichita anymore. And um I went to bed that night and I think I did feel like I was being levitated up, and it was almost like I woke up in the middle, like I'm paralyzed. I can't move. And I'm screaming, but
Screaming, but
nothing's
nothing's
coming out of
coming
my
out of my
mouth.
mouth.
A lot of people
And
say they experience that phenomenon, that they are paralyzed and they're completely conscious and aware, but they can't control their physical body, and the only thing they can do is just move their eyes sometimes, or just they're just awake to where they can hear and sense what's going on around the room. So that in itself is enough to be scary, because that's how astral projection started out for me. It's just the inability to be able to move They call it a witch is riding your back, but to me it's just what do you call it? Sleep paralysis.
Sleep
I,
paralysis. I
I
have
feel
sleep
like yours is
paralysis
different.
too.
Yours may have been induced by, I ain't gonna say by something different though, but go ahead, I'm listening.
But I'm like screaming. My mom's in the next room. I'm in my dream. I am screaming. I'm screaming for my mom. And then all of a sudden I'm supposedly back in my bed, but they managed, whatever happened, they managed to camouflage like I'm back in my room. And then I wake up again and I'm there. And this happens like 5 or 6 times until I'm actually awake. And at that point I'm like, I'm crawling into bed with my mom. And I didn't sleep the rest of that night.
Yeah, I wouldn't have slept too good either. And it always takes me like at least a day of daylight in order to feel better so that I can go back to sleep. Like I gotta see the sun come up. I gotta get out of the house for a little bit, clear my mind before I'll feel comfortable going back in the house. Because I don't know, it is a little bit of fear that comes with like things like that.
Yeah, and I do have sleep paralysis too.
I think a lot of people have sleep paralysis, and the thing is, like once you get when you're not afraid of sleep paralysis anymore, it's okay. Like once you stop fearing the sleep paralysis, that's when you're able to start venturing off more into like the astral realm. So like you guys, if you're listening, go ahead and when you the next time you have sleep paralysis, like don't be afraid of it. Just let it happen. Just kind of relax your body and stay calm and see what happens. Let me know if you guys like start hearing sounds and stuff like that. That is a creepy part in itself, but those are the first parts of astral projection. I will tell you that. So just try it out. If whenever you feel comfortable, just try it out. Anybody who just listening, I'm just curious to know. So
But that was it. I had to tell you that one
yeah,
because that
that's
would
pretty creepy.
freak me out.
That is pretty creepy. All right, so I think Renee would like to come in and give a couple stories. I want to say thank you, Christina, for sharing those stories. It's pretty interesting. All of those are really interesting. The one about the angel was very, very interesting to me. It actually gives me a lot of comfort to know that not even just you, but I think all of us have energies out there that are really, truly protecting us and watching over us. And it also comforts me to hear your story about with your aunt and the message of hope that basically was brought along with that. So let's see. All right, so Renee, you want to come in? All right, let me see if I can post the link. I think it's already posted. It should be right up there. You can come in at any time if you want to share your story. And remember, you can, you can take the camera out. You don't got to show your face. You can stop the camera. So just let me know. Yeah. All right. So tell me when you're ready for me to go ahead and add you to the stream. Well, I guess so. Give you a thumbs up. Let's go ahead. So I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna say hey, and then I'll mute myself because there's probably an echo. Hey, Renee.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So every now and then, whenever you
Okay.
start talking, you tell your spooky story, I'm gonna mute myself so that you can take the floor. Oh, I see your baby. Okay, go ahead whenever you're
Elena,
ready.
you want to take my camera off? Oh wait, do I take the camera off?
You can take the camera off. It's a little button that says stop cam. It should be down there somewhere. There you go. All right, we're good.
There.
Yes.
Okay. Hey guys, what's up?
I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. All right. So this story starts. I'm gonna say like before, because I have stories before I really started getting into like witchcraft and like spirituality. So that's kind of where I want to start off with because not that this stuff was new to me because I've had experiences since I was like little, but this was like I said before I really started getting into all this stuff. So at one point, it was in this house actually, the house that I'm living in now with my dad. In one of my other rooms right now that we have in the house, I was still in high school. I had started experiencing hearing knockings like in my room, and like it kind of freaked me out because it sounded like they were inside my room, because you know how you can feel the difference when it's inside the room rather than it's like outside. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so I and of course
Yes, I do.
back then, yes. Okay, sorry. Back
Yeah,
then,
I definitely know what you mean.
I was I'm a very logical person, you know? So like I was trying to figure out like what the heck was going on. So sorry, it's because I think I keep echoing, right? Um, so I would check outside to see if like there was anybody outside, or if there was like, you know, one of those birds that like that, what are they called, where they peck on the tree. You know those birds that
Oh,
I'm
the
talking about?
woodpeckers. The
Yes.
woodpeckers or something like that. Yeah. They go like like the little
Yeah, and like
yeah.
you can hear them like pecking, but it sounds different than a knock, right? So I was just like, okay, well, what if it's one of those birds, right? So like I go outside to check, and there's nothing like out. There's no birds. There's no nothing, right? So I was kind of like, okay. So like the first time it happened, I kind of just like forgot about it and just went about my day, right? Well, it happened again. I would say a couple of days later, I heard the knockings again in the room, and it was pretty much around the same area that I heard it, right? And I was just like, okay. And at that time, my dad was in the house. So I went to ask my dad. I was like, Dad, I was like, is there anybody here? Because like every now and then we'll have people come in and like work on the house, right? Because it's kind of an old house, so there's always like problems and stuff like with the house. So I had asked him, I was like, is there anybody here like working on the house or something? He's like, no. Why? I was like, because I keep hearing knockings in my room. And like my dad, like he's just kind of like, oh, haha, whatever, like he makes fun of that stuff, so he's like, oh, whatever, you're just hearing things, or so I was just kind of like, okay, I guess. So again, the second time I heard it, just one of those things where it's like, you know what, like, okay, like let it go. Well, I hear the knockings again, like a couple of days later, and at the third time after I hear it, I'm kind of like, okay, what the heck is going on, right? Like, what is this? And I had actually, well, the next day after I heard the knockings for the third time, I was in my closet getting ready. Because, like I said, I was still in high school. So I was getting ready. And while I was in the closet, I heard something say my name, like at the corner of my ear. And I heard it so vividly that I got shivers all down my body. Like, has that ever happened to you?
Yes, yes, actually, I have heard my name said, but the difference with the way I heard what happened to me was I heard it from inside of my head, but it felt like it came
Mm-hmm.
from the right ear. I heard, and the weird thing was, my mother wasn't dead at this time. She had not passed. I was,
Mm-hmm.
my story is, I was 13 years old. I think I was headed to seventh grade. I was in seventh grade. That's middle school. I was getting up in the morning. Actually, I hadn't even woke up yet. Usually, I had an alarm clock that goes off at 6 a.m. I had to be at school at 7. Instead of my alarm clock going off, for some reason it didn't go off, but I heard a little girl call my name, and she just said Judy, and it sounded like it was inside of my head, and I remember
Oh
waking
my
up and being
goodness.
like, who is that? And because it sounded like they were in the room, but I can't really tell where it come from. Honestly, it felt like it came from inside of my head, but on the right side of my ear.
Uh-huh.
So I remember I was sleeping on one side and I rolled over Judy, and I remember rolling over and looking to find out. I was like, who is it? Who is it? I'm thinking one of my friends came to walk with me. I used to walk to school. It wasn't that far. It was like a mile away
Uh-huh.
from my house. And my friends would come and pick me up, and we'd all walk together to school. And I was like, oh no, I must have overslept. My friends are here to come and get me, and I'm not even ready. Now I'm going to make everybody late, and they're going to have to leave without me, and all this other stuff. That's what went through my head. Nobody was there. Nobody was outside my
Yeah.
window. I was in the room by myself, and then I looked at the clock, and it was exactly 6 a.m. My alarm clock didn't go off,
Oh my
but I
goodness.
heard that voice. Yeah, I heard the voice. It was in exactly 6 a.m. Time for me to wake up.
Uh-huh.
And that was
Oh my.
that was it. Yeah, but I have
Wow.
heard
Yeah. So
my name called.
Oh, sorry. It's because my daughter is over here talking, so I'm like hearing her in the background too. But yeah, after I heard the voice, like I said, I felt shivers all down like my body. Elena, shh, real quick, okay? Let mommy finish the story. Oh, I had shivers like all down my body. So I that was the first time I had actually ever gotten a tarot reading also, because I was so like, okay, what, like I needed to know what it was. And at the time, my best friend's aunt, she was a practitioner, so she did readings. So I went to her house and she gave me a reading and she looked at me and she said, there's something, she said, there's something about you, you're very spiritual yourself, but you haven't tapped into it yet. And I was like, okay, like awesome, right? Like I was very open, like back then I wasn't scared, I wasn't like any of that, so I was very open to what she was telling me. But what she told me from what the spirit was, that at the time I really didn't have any like close family members that had passed, because my grandpa hadn't passed just yet back then. But she said that the spirit that was trying to contact me was my great grandmother. My great grandmother had passed away a year, I think, before that happened. And so that's what she told me. She's like, yeah, she's like, it's your great grandma. She's just wanting to let you know that she's there. And that she's trying to get you ready for like a new journey. And I was like, okay. She's like, yeah. She's like, did you feel anything bad? I was like, no, I didn't feel anything bad. It's just, I never had really anything that much happen to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does make sense. So, gosh, these it's crazy how a lot of us have actually had some of the same experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Like hearing our name called, or like having a sixth sense that something else was about to happen, or like feeling like an entity is wanting our attention, and then we kind of have a heightened awareness, or like wanting us to start paying attention to our surroundings, just like Christina said, when she felt like the angel kind of wrapped their wings around her and she walked away from her accident
Yes.
experience. Yes. Like that's just crazy how like that's how I know there's extra stuff playing a part in this 3D world, like behind the
Oh,
curtains
for
somehow.
sure.
For sure. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Yeah, well,
story I
that's
wanted
the
to share.
story
I
I
just
wanted
want
to share. I just want
Elena with me here.
Elena with me here. Yeah, okay, okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Okay, I really appreciate it. I love to hear about spooky events and things like that. And I saw that you were talking about sleep paralysis as well, and that you heard your father in law call
Yes.
your name and he had already passed. So I guess that you hear a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like disembodied voices, because I notice that when I'm sleeping, that's not now, but I notice that when I'm hearing voices, usually I'm hearing it right before I wake up. Like I guess you call it
Yes.
REM sleep. Like that's when I'm most likely to hear those
Yeah, in
voices. Yeah, in
transition.
transition. This reminds me too. There was a time when I think I had it on video, and I can't remember. Dang it. It was on video. It was actually my daughter. She likes to play with my cell phone all the time. She had my cell phone at the time. She was 4 years old, and she went back in her room. She likes to record herself. She was recording herself on my cell phone, and one day I happened to like, pick my phone up, look through the photos and
Mm-hmm.
videos, see that she's playing with my phone, and I'm like, okay, so cute. And there's this one particular video where I look through, and she's like, handling the phone. She's like handling the phone and stuff. And the next thing I know, she puts the phone down, and the phone is looking up at the ceiling while she's wandering back around the room again. And I hear, the TV wasn't on, I hear, my baby. And at the time, my daughter has a
Oh my
speech delay,
goodness.
so she can't talk. But I heard a woman's voice in the room that said, my baby. Like, that's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, who?
Ah.
I think I sent that video to a couple of people. Like, that was creepy. Did you guys hear it? And they were like, yeah, for sure, we heard that. That was a disembodied voice as well. So I
Yes.
guess that like somebody was in the room with her. I don't know, but she was like playing around, lottie dotting around. Like she didn't get scared. She was cool. She was hanging out, and the voice was captured on the recording. So
My
yeah.
daughter
My
has had
daughter has had
experiences already as
experiences
well.
already as
Like
well. Like
the day that
the
my
day that my
father-in-law passed
father-in-law
away,
passed away,
we already knew that he
we
was
already
sick,
knew that he
right?
was
Because
sick,
he was
right?
in
Because he was
hospice.
in hospice.
But we obviously you don't know when it's going to happen, you're just prepared for it to happen. So we were kind of already preparing for it to happen, but my one morning we woke up and my daughter, she looks up at the ceiling and she waves and she goes, "Ha ha, hi grandpa." And I was like, "Okay." And then I kid you not, 10 minutes later Levi texted me that he passed away. And I was just like, well, he had already came to visit her, so not even 10 minutes.
Yeah, he came to visit. And that's what makes me think, look, I work around people, like y'all know I'm a respiratory therapist. I work around people who are, I work at a rehabilitation facility. So I get a lot of patients who are on ventilators, and a lot of them, they don't really, they don't really talk anymore. They don't speak anything like that. They don't really move. They can't do anything for themselves. But a lot of times I really feel like even though their body is still alive, I really believe that their consciousness has the ability to still leave their body, even if their body is, still alive. They're just on the ventilator, but they may be like part of their brain. They don't have like the ability to like communicate and talk to us, but I believe there's some sense of awareness that lives outside of their body, and I think that that is heightened near or at the moment of death, for anyone who's like terminally ill or sick. So when you said that your grandpa came and visited your daughter and he had not passed yet but he was about to, like, I truly believe that that's a part of our, I don't know, spirit, soul, or something like that has the ability to leave before the actual physical death of our physical body. You know what I'm saying? So just depends. But this is it's so
yes,
weird.
I believe that as well, because that's what it felt like
happened. Yeah, we'll probably never find out all the answers of why our brain and our soul works together like this. So that's what makes it so interesting. There's something
I know.
Well, thank you, Renee, for coming on the channel. I appreciate you telling your stories. So I'm going to go ahead. I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been live for an hour and 30 minutes unless somebody else has a story to tell. I don't think we do. But I really appreciate everybody coming on the channel, hanging out with me, listening to me. This is a little bit different. I kind of like this stuff. So
me too.
Yeah, I like this stuff. So, and I feel like going and watching something paranormal, but maybe I need to give it maybe I need to give it a break. Look, one of my favorite movies is The Fourth Kind. Is it Uncanny?
Oh, yes.
That movie trips me out. Like, every time I see that movie, I just be like, man, there's some crazy stuff that be going on in this world, Yeah.
That one tripped me out too, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I wish I could continue this energy. But I'm getting tired. And I'm going to go ahead and concentrate on like doing more streams like this if we could. So I really appreciate everybody. You say you're lagging. I'm sorry, Ilda. But yeah, we did have some great stories. And yeah, that movie freaked you out. It freaked me out too.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you for coming on the stream. And I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody goodbye. And
bye, guys.
We got one more thing coming up for bye, Renee. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and get off.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, so it's just me in here now. I think you guys can still hear me. I don't know why I'd be thinking like you can't hear me when I don't see anybody else on the stream. But I really appreciate everybody's story. That was pretty interesting. I really had a lot of fun hearing. Felt like we were all in the same room conversating and talking and hanging out and chilling and stuff. So, but yeah, I had one more thing that's coming up for the month of Oktoberfest Fridays. Let me get my banner together. And what is it? I can't remember. Oh, that's right. We're gonna have another cold case. I didn't know if I want to do another cold case or did I want to do something different, like past lives or something like that. But for now, it's still cold case. But I wanted to have somebody come on and do a cold case with me. But I don't know, I might be just thinking out loud. But thank you everybody for showing up. I actually had a lot of fun tonight. And and I think I'm gonna, on what day is that gonna be on? Let me look at my calendar. Let's see, the 28th. Friday. Yeah. Friday the 28th. We're gonna do another cold case. And it's gonna be a murder mystery, but we're gonna have it with Spirit Box. And I got a new app on my phone that allows the Spirit Box to communicate with like just words. so that we don't have to listen so closely. Sometimes I get a headache listening to that spirit box because it's like radio, it's using radio static, and it gets too hard to listen. I get a headache. But I found something out that's a whole lot easier for me to use and easier for me to understand. So yeah, so I appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out with me. This was a lot of fun. And I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? So, bye bye.